was going to happen either during the show or just after, and it does. As you can see on your screen here, the team officially signed Nneka Ogwumike to a 1-year deal on February 5th, just shortly after we got wrapped up recording for the show. So there had been talks about it. We had seen when she had visited Climate Pledge Arena. If you go back a few weeks, we've got that visit documented. It's a 1-year deal, which is different than Skylar Diggins-Smith, who signed a 2-year deal. But, there was Nneka, outside of it, SDS was the most prized free agent on the market. She had been listing her final few destinations as Chicago, New York, and Seattle. And if you just look at that group of 3, Chicago doesn't make any sense if you want to compete in the near future. New York doesn't make a ton of sense because either you're fighting for a ton of minutes there, you're with that loaded New York Liberty roster, or you're off the bench, and there's no way you can bring Nneka off the bench, right? So she comes to Seattle. She helps form a core 4 with Jewell Loyd, Skylar Diggins-Smith, herself, and then Ezi Magbegor. So you've got a big group there. Asia Wilson on Twitter was saying, not enough of y'all are talking about Seattle being a super team. So that was fun. But we get that confirmation finally. We'll talk about it here. It's a ton of fun to have it. We go 2 seasons ago to the Storm trying to push for one last title for Sue Bird, and that big 3 of Sue Bird, Jewell Loyd, and Brianna Stewart. That offseason was really tough, with Sue retiring, with Stewie leaving for the Liberty, and kind of a different roster. You get that high pick of Jordan Horston, Sammy Whitcomb comes back, and it's somewhat of a younger group. They didn't do too well in the standings, but they fought just about every game last year, and it was largely fun to watch that team. It was hard to see the losses and hard to see some of the mistakes that were made and the teaching points, but still a lot of fun to watch Jordan Horston, Sammy Whitcomb, Jewell Loyd, obviously in her historic season. Jade Melbourne learning throughout the course of the year, Dulcie Fanka-Mengiadu as well. So fun to witness that team. But now, with this offseason, there was a ton of speculation of what the Storm were going to do. They had that 4th overall pick. It gets traded. Jewell Loyd, a day before the last game of the season, signing that 2-year extension, which was massive. Otherwise, that was all we were going to be able to talk about throughout the course of this offseason was, is Jewell going to sign here or where is she going to go? And surely throughout the WNBA, that would have been the talk of the town anyway as well. But thankfully, whether it's General Manager Talisa Ray, Head Coach Noelle Quinn, this front office and ownership bringing in Skylar Diggins-Smith, that wasn't one that I necessarily expected. I thought maybe we'd go after Nneka, but you go after that, you get the point guard that you talked about, and you added next to Jewell Loyd. You more than did that. So there's still a few roster spots to fill out. I imagine, again, that Seattle will go with an 11-player roster like we talked about last week. But it's just crazy to think about. You go from a big 3 2 seasons ago, a tough year last year, and now you've got a core 4. So you still have to play the games. You're obviously going to have to go through the Liberty, through the Las Vegas Aces, who just won the championship. But it's a lot fun to think about, having Nneka here, having Skylar here, 2 more years at minimum of Jewell Loyd. So, and how about a hat tip for Jewell Loyd, obviously, for staying. She could have gone anywhere else. I don't think a lot of us would have called her a traitor for that sort of thing. And instead, she stays here, and she's, part of now this core 4. So some more news. This one's kind of minor because it isn't necessarily game-breaking, but on the 7th, it was announced that Jewell Loyd will take part in the Ruffles All-Star Celebrity Game for Team Shannon Sharp and the NBA All-Star Weekend. So there's that. So Jewell will continue to stay busy this offseason. Also, though, on the 7th, it was announced that 6 members of the Storm organization were headed to the Olympic qualifying tournaments in 2024. For the USA, Jewell Loyd, again, saying her name. Australia has 4 members of the Storm organization with Ezi Magbegor, Jade Melbourne, Sammy Whitcomb, and Storm legend Lauren Jackson. And then for Team Canada, head coach Noelle Quinn. Since then, all 6 of those players, folks, obviously, have advanced and have booked their spot to the Paris Olympics. So that was really cool to see. In addition to that, not just booking her place on the 11th of the month, it was announced that Ezi Magbegor was named as FIBA's Olympic qualifying tournament Brazil MVP. Say that 3 times fast. So Ezi had been playing really well overseas already, ahead of joining Team Australia for this tournament, doing really well in the league that she was already in, which was pretty fantastic to see. But she was named as the MVP of the tournament, as Australia finished with a 3-0 record. Ezi finished the tournament with averages of 12.7 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 3.0 blocks per game. Across those 3 games, she had one of her best games for Australia in the opener on last Thursday, finishing with 18 points on 7 of 9 shooting, adding 7 rebounds and 4 blocks as the Opals held on to beat host country Brazil by a score of 85-80. She closed out the tournament with an 11-point, 4-block night and a narrow 2-point, 75-73 win over Serbia. So, also, we'll talk about some of her other teammates. Jade Melbourne and Sammy Whitcomb had solid tournaments. Melbourne, playing in her tournament as a member of the senior national team, had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block in the Opals finale versus Serbia. She finished the tournament with 5.3 points, rebounds, 2.0 assists, and 0.7 steals in 3 games. Whitcomb contributed 4.7 points, 2.3 rebounds, 2.0 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block across 3 games. In terms of the other qualifying tournaments, the U.S., which had already clinched their berth into the Olympics, cruised to a 3-0 record in Belgium, with Jewel Lloyd averaging 10.3 points per game while shooting 57.9, including 55.6 from 3. She led the U.S. in scoring in their win over Nigeria, scoring 18 points in just 17 minutes, while connecting on 7 of 11 attempts from the field, adding 3 3-pointers. And then head coach Noel Quinn with Canada helped guide them to an Olympic berth with the senior national team, earning their 3rd berth from the tournament in Hungary, widely considered to be the group of death, with 3 teams ranked in the FIBA top 10, in addition to the 19th ranked and host Hungary. So there's your little wrap-up from the qualifying tournaments for Paris Olympics. Nice to see all 6 members of the organization all qualify and punch their ticket as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously representing your country in these different sports is a whole different animal. So exciting to see that, and obviously exciting to be able to talk about this team adding Nneka. There was a fun selfie, I'm sure I'll put it on the screen here, of Whitcomb, Magbegor, and Melbourne all reacting to the news of Nneka signing here. So a lot of excitement. There's still some young aspects of this Storm team, with some of those players that I mentioned. Melbourne, Ezi Magbegor is still incredibly young. So you've got the veteran leadership and the proven commodity of Nneka, Skylar Diggins-Smith, and Jewel Lloyd, Sammy Whitcomb, and then you've got some of that younger aspect as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. Storm basketball will be a lot of fun this year. Hope to see you out there.